we'll get started. So this is the second of my webinars where we actually look at a real topic. So the webinars previous to this will be much more focused on CoverageBook. As many of you will know, I am one of the directors at CoverageBook, but I did have a life before CoverageBook, which was quite focused in digital PR. So I'm going to be sharing some of my experience specifically around SEO, which was a huge part of my career, which you will start to hear about a lot more. But what I will say right now is it'd be brilliant if throughout the presentation, if you have any questions at all, please add them to the chat, and I will come back and answer them at the end. And there is a prize for the best question as well, a valuable prize. So yeah, do add your questions in. Okay, so I'm now going to share my screen and we shall get started. Okay, so why are we talking about SEO? I want to start right from the beginning, really. You may well have heard SEO coming up more and more in industry media, industry events that you might have been going to, and there's good reason for it, because it's actually very important area that if you are essentially doing PR for an organization that has a website, which I'll be surprised if there is anyone out there that's not doing that job, you need to know about SEO. It's super, super important. So I'm going to just sort of really go back to the basics of what SEO is. So SEO is search engine optimization. So before we dive into the optimization, I just want to explore search engines for a little bit. What you can see right now is the latest Edelman Trust Barometer. This is a brilliant piece of research that happens every year. It's been happening for the past, at least 5 years that I know. And it's excellent. What it does is look at trust of generally media around the world. It goes across, I think it surveys around over 35,000 people in multiple markets, I think about 40 markets. But this particular slide is looking at platforms, media platforms. And this may be a surprise to some of you, especially when as PR people, we are targeting traditional media, sort of editorial, websites and blogs, and we're looking at social media when we're trying to get that message out there on behalf of our clients. But right at the top is search engines. Search engines are the most trusted platform of media, source of media. And I just wanted everyone to sort of take that in for a moment. That's actually been the case since 2015 as well. That they've been the most trusted. So that's sort of like the first area where we're sort of thinking about our target audience. The reason for that is because if we take ourselves back and really put ourselves in the shoes of consumers, we are the consumers, but often we think about the audience. But if we take ourselves back to sort of traditional marketing and the way that we'd reach our audience, would have a stimulus. So we would have either a piece of PR coverage or a billboard advertisement or a TV advertisement. And then that would be the first point of stimulus, and that would make our customers aware. And then they would then go through to store at the point of sale, and then we would reach them again. And then they would have their brand experience. And that used to be sort of the very basic line of traditional marketing and advertising. But then Google and generally search engines became bigger and bigger and changed that. And now there is something called, and it's first sort of tip of the webinar, actually, if you want to do more research, Google actually have something called the zero moment of truth. So the traditional way was that you'd have the first moment of truth on shelf, and then the second moment of truth, which would be the experience. Now, with the increase of searching, there's actually the zero moment of truth, which is here where the Google logo is. There's a lot of free content if you search for Google Zero Moment of Truth, especially if you're in the retail space. This is, I'd say, essential knowledge to really understand your customers and your customers' journey. But what this means is that now we as marketers reach our target audience. That's a stimulus. Then they are searching. They're pulling out their iPhone, they're putting out their smartphones, they're going on their desktop, they're searching, they're doing their own research before they reach the shelves, before they go in store. people were doing this research in store as well. So it's absolutely huge that we are considering it as not just thinking about PR coverage to sale. There's a whole lot more that's going on in the middle of that. So I'm using the Google logo here, but we've been talking about just generally search engines. The reason I'm using the Google logo, and you're going to be seeing this throughout this webinar, is because it is by far the biggest search engine in English-speaking countries. It's not in China, that's Baidu, and it's not in India and Russia either, but in English-speaking countries, it's by far, and I think it's around 90% market share. And then within Google, we're looking at around 4 billion searches per day. 4 billion searches per day. So we really need to be thinking about within that 4 billion, where our target audience and how are we involved in this. So let's just think about that Google search then. So this is a search results page, which you are probably very familiar with. And we've got the search term at the top, which is a business one for this particular example. And then we've got some ads on the right, and we've got some ads at the top. And then there's some results underneath the ads in the middle that don't have the little gold ad logo. And that's the difference between paid results and natural results. So the ones without the ad sign is what we call natural results. Now, normally, if I could hear you all at this point, I would say, where do you click? And generally, when I ask this question in talks that I do, nearly everybody in the room would say that they click on the bottom half. Then they're not sure why, but they do. And they're not alone. So this is some really interesting stats here, which is really going to feed into where PR fits into this. So, yep. 80% of people who go to Google results pages click on the area and the results that aren't ads, that don't have the ad logo or sign. However, these stats are from a really great book, actually. But however, the 85% of marketing spend, total marketing spend, is spent on those adverts on Google results at the top and on the sides, which is a huge amount of spend. And I know that this is true. I can back this up because I've worked in agencies and organizations where this has absolutely been true. Reason for it is because it is so lucrative for businesses to be putting that money into that advertising, because they get a lot of money back, especially if they're an e-commerce setup. They absolutely get that money back. It's well worth the investment. But let's just focus on the bottom part. 80% of clicks are on the bottom part in the natural search results. Only 20% are clicking on those ads. So you've got to think, why aren't more people, or why isn't more of the spend in this bottom half? Reason for that is because it's super, super hard to really, really challenging to be able to get your business or your organization into this natural search results part. But it is possible, and public relations is a huge part of getting your clients into this area of the search results page. So for the rest of this webinar, I'm going to be talking mainly about that and your part in it. But next tip of if you want to learn more, excuse me, is this Marketing in the Age of Google book by Vanessa Fox. Really fantastic book if you are just starting out in understanding Google and online marketing and how it all fits together. Really great. So let's take ourselves back a little bit. Google was first registered in 1997, and I think the reason why I'm going back here is because it really sort of sets out why search engines are so big and that sort of trust level. So I just want to sort of take you back a little bit and tell you a bit of a story. So it started at Stanford University, Serge they started this as a project at the university, and it was just a student project, just to do some research to see if they could build a search engine for within the university at Stanford. And that's how it started in 1997. In 1998, it looked a little something like this. So it went beyond the project, and it ended up being a really great research platform for everybody who attended Stanford University. All of the students used this to go and get more information about university, their courses, etc. But you can see that it hasn't hugely changed even since 1998. But this is all where it started, so very sort of within the university still. By 2000, it had expanded outside the university and launched itself as its own website. In that process, it started to gain a lot more traffic way beyond the university and throughout the US. And they realized that this could actually be quite lucrative. So they saw the traffic landing on the site and people clicking onto those natural results. So by 2000, they decided to launch AdWords, which is the ads. And you can see, like, even though this is 18 years ago, it hasn't changed a great deal. Probably because if it's not broke, why fix it? Now, they have actually added a lot more in the background, which I'll come on to. But in terms of what we see, the trust was starting to build, so they didn't change it. But yeah, ads were there by 2000. But with the increase of traffic going to Google and then the introduction of the spend on ads, for organizations who saw how much traffic they were gaining from this site called Google, they didn't like the fact that they now had to pay to be at the top, because before they'd be able to reach the top through other ways and means by the content that they had on their site. Now, to be at the top, they had to pay for it, and other people started to pay more and more. So, in pretty much the same year that the ads were introduced, also the SEO industry was born, and people were trying to work out how to get to the top of the natural search results without paying for the ads. And that was the introduction of search engine optimization. So that's where it's come from. So it's a reasonably new industry. It's only been around since 2000, and it's certainly got a lot bigger since then. And what this image is really representing is that SEO setups to begin with were huge sort of organizations all trying to work out the Google algorithm of how to get to the top without paying for the ads, because it was worthwhile. It was a lot of people, as I say, were getting a lot of traffic from Google and making a lot of money. So that's why it was so important for them to work this out. Now, still in 2000, it progressed quite quickly. Some of these SEO experts started to realize that it wasn't just about the content that they had on their site. It was also about some of the links that they had coming from other sites into their site. So let's have an example. We've got a Walmart website. It's not just the fact that Walmart has lots of products available on its site, and that's useful for people, and therefore it should be at the top for some of those product searches. It's the fact that other websites recommend Walmart and link to it. So they have URL links. So the Huffington Post might link to Walmart, or the New York Times might link to Walmart. So all of those links are seen as recommendations by Google. But what happened was the SEO industry thought, okay, we can see it's about links. We need to build as many links as possible. And so there used to be all sorts of weird and wonderful ways of sending links to different websites. And what you can see here is a confusing sort of diagram of a link farm. And what used to happen would be fake websites would be set up that you and I wouldn't be able to see, and they'd literally be set up by SEOs just to send links to each other, just to be able to send links then all of these sort of hundreds of links onto a website in order to get it up to the top of the Google. So all sorts of crazy things would happen. Also, they realized that the content on sites was also really important. So if we had a holiday organization website, and they needed to, it's important for them to rank at the top for European getaways, European holidays, and because they found that the more people were searching for that, so they'd get more traffic. Then what would happen is that lots of SEOs started to put the keywords of European destinations all in the copy and make it very hard to read. So there was lots of tricks all going on, and basically as the SEO industry were trying to work out the Google algorithm and trick it, essentially. Now, Google was very, very trusted on the great results, and so it didn't really like this kind of sort of battle with the SEO industry, because what was happening is that in the results page, you'd have sort of untrustworthy results rather than it being really based on, great content and great recommendation. So what you're seeing now is like a timeline of different updates to Google algorithm that they started to make in order to try and balance this, to try and make it harder for the SEO industry to try and trick the algorithm and to be able to let these really great content and trusted sites come to the top. So what does this mean? You're probably thinking, why is there a penguin on the screen? Well, at this point, I would probably ask, does anyone know? And the reason for this, what does PR mean to the penguin, mean to Google? It was one of the updates of the Google algorithm. Now, strangely, Google decided to use animal names in their algorithm updates. Don't ask me why, I can't tell you. I don't work at Google, but I do understand the updates. And there's been some really, really great updates that I'm in all favor of. And it continues to improve Google and the search results. And it's why they still have 4 billion searches and increasing actually every single day. It's because they have quality results, and it's because we trust them. If you go to other search engines, sometimes the results aren't as good, and then it becomes untrustworthy, and then we go somewhere else. Google has always continued to improve, and they always increase in traffic. Reason for that is because they update the algorithm, and they always make it better to make it better for you and I and everybody else and the other 4 billion people out there. So some of the updates are, we've got one on the left, Panda. This was all about the content on a website. So it's used a holiday company example again, rather than lots of keyword stuffing of European destination Europe, France destination. Like the copy would actually be very hard to read, that kind of keyword stuffing. What the Panda update did was remove any sites with that sort of naughty keyword stuffing, trying to trick the algorithm down into the results, and it brought all of the quality content on those topics up to the top. So that's that. We've got the Hummingbird on the right. Hummingbird came through in 2013, and it has continued to update since then as well. And what that's done is actually it's Google catching up with how we all search now. So we've really around 2013 was the increase of searching on smartphones. And that meant that we search differently. So if you're at a desktop, you're more likely to put in like 2 words as your keywords. With a smartphone, you're much more likely to say restaurants near me, pizza delivery now, things like that. So the Hummingbird update was an update from Google to try and keep up with how we were searching and those longer tail terms. Now, back to the penguin, right in the middle here. The penguin update first rolled out in 2012, and as we continued to have other updates, other penguin updates nearly on an annual basis. It's a super important area of the Google algorithm and how Google chooses who goes to the top of all of their search results. Now, what it actually means is that the penguin update looks for any sites that has these spammy links. Now, what I mean by that is having links that are trying to trick the Google algorithm. So going back to my past examples, hidden links coming through to a website, or links that have been paid for by an SEO organization, just in order just to try and get them to the top. What Google's looking for is real quality recommendation elsewhere on the internet. So like I said, the Huffington Post, if it does the top 10 European destinations and links through to my holiday website, great, that's quality, that's third party, that's a recommendation. Google loves that. It doesn't love paid links. So remember that. We're going to come back to it. So the penguin update is really key. But the full algorithm of how Google works is top secret, and they will never, excuse me, they will never tell us exactly what is involved. But the search engine optimization industry will always try and guess. But they'll never fully reveal. However, we do know that it always comes down to these 3 areas. So it will never change from this, and it hasn't changed. It will always continue. So how it's weighted to these 3 areas will probably change year on year. But essentially, Google looks at a website that's trying to be in that natural search part, and it looks to see how it's technically set up. What I mean by that is sort of really the behind the scenes of a website. So how it's all of the different pages are linked up. So how the sub pages and the pages that maybe our coverage is on is linked to the homepage. So, and how they're titled. So like, let's have an example again, back to my holiday website. If I have a page that's all about vacations in Paris, and that needs to be signposted to Google, not just in the content that you and I can see, but in the title tags and all of the behind the scenes as well. So when Google crawlers land on a website, it needs to know that what the website's about, it needs to know what the pages are about, and it needs to be able to move through it. Without those that technical setup, it's kind of invisible. So it's a real sort of solid foundation. The second part that's really important is the content. So this is going back to the content that you and I can see. So going back to the holiday website, it's about the giving some great information. If there is a page about all Paris holidays and vacations, then it needs to have some really engaging content all about that. So all about the Paris destination, all about the hotels, so a mixture of copy, video, images. It needs to be engaging. It needs to be helpful. So that's what Google's looking for too. The third area is the real key area, and it's the penny drop moment for me when I came from traditional PR and then I spent some time in SEO. And this was like, wow, okay, we really need to be working in this. The third, and probably one of the biggest things that Google looks for, which I've already mentioned, is that genuine recommendation from elsewhere online. So with a website, you can have the best people working on the best content and the best technical setup, and you can pay for that. You can pay for that in-house. You can employ content agencies. You can do that. But to have third-party recommendation from journalists, bloggers, anybody on social media talking about a brand, that is really difficult to do. And who's best to do that? The public relations industry. But it's those earned links and shares that Google was looking for. And the reason why Google looks for that is because it sees other websites and other social profiles out there as being trusted, trustworthy, and if they've been around online, take a journalist or a media house opinion into consideration a lot higher than maybe a smaller site. So it's a way that it can start to vote which piece of content is voted for the best or not. And it's that third-party recommendation. So what I really mean by that, just to sort of really reiterate, there's a website there at the top, and it's a B2B website. And so this B2B website has had some PR coverage on these sites below, and it's also had some content that's been shared on Twitter quite a lot as well. Now, that's great, but the big difference here is that all of those pieces of coverage has a URL link going through to that website at the top within the pieces of coverage and also in the tweets as well. That is the key sort of driver and the key sort of flag to Google, if you like, that this website has been recommended by these other organizations. Without the link, it's really difficult for Google to see that. It's almost like an open door. So Google will go to the Growing Business website. It will see the piece of coverage about Experis, and then it will read the piece of coverage, and then it will just move off. However, if there's a URL link about going through to the Experis website, the crawlers will then go through that open door link to the Experis website and go and check it out. Then Experis goes up higher in the search rankings. So those links are super, super important. So going back to our penguin, this happened in 2012, this big change. And what that meant was that the Google search results did actually change quite a lot. All of those sites that had those paid for spammy links going into them dropped. And the sites that had good editorial and recommended links going into those websites from great quality PR campaigns and genuine recommendation just from a target audience went up in the search rankings, and they experienced an increase of traffic. Now, this all happened in 2012, and I was working in SEO back then, along with some of the CoverageBook team, actually. Gary, the founder, I was working closely with him. And we actually noticed, because we were doing really quality PR campaigns, online PR campaigns, and gaining coverage with links in back at that agency quite a few years ago now. We found in 2012 that all of our clients jumped up the search rankings, gained a lot more traffic, and earned a lot more money from that increase of traffic as well. So we could see this big change, and you'll see that will just continue. So I guess first tip: understand your clients, find out who the SEO agencies are, find out what kind of links they are getting if you can, but also start at home. What links are you getting in your coverage? First tip. So just to reiterate that the process there. So we've got on the top left, you can see a PR campaign going live, and there's pieces of editorial coverage going live, and there's links in those pieces of coverage all going live. So now, before I went into SEO, that top left-hand corner and that square saying PR campaign, my campaign would have finished there. I would have gained the coverage. I would have celebrated that. I would have reported on it to my client, and we would have really celebrated, because with the grey arrows going over to the right, we would have exposed our clients to this target audience. And that target audience, when they are looking at those pieces of coverage, they would have seen the client mention. That's great. But they are very much in browse mode. Now, what I mean by that is put yourself into the target audience shoes. When you are browsing through HuffPost or Mail Online, you're in a very different state to when you are searching for a product. You're in a very different state, very different mind state, and you are browsing for editorial, ready to read an article, something like that. It's very rare that you'll see something and say, I'm going to buy it right now. You'll save it somewhere. What happens when you are ready to buy something is you open your phone, open your browser, you search for that product name. You search for the product name, and you are much more further down the line of intent to buy something. Now, what happens is, the good thing for us is that the PR campaign goes live. Now, in the background, Google is watching all of those pieces of coverage go live. It goes to all of those different pieces of coverage. It sees if there's a link, and then it's adding all of those links as votes and recommendations to your client. Now, with all of those votes of recommendation, your client then goes up in the Google search rankings. What happens then is that when people are ready to buy something that's related to, or ready to search for something that's related to your client website, they're going to be higher up in those search results and closer to that sort of in-market target audience because of the PR campaign. So essentially what you're doing here is you're having 2 hits of impact just from your one PR campaign. So we really want you to sort of take note of this, and after this webinar, really start to explore this more, because there could be some additions to your reporting and to your measurement that you could be doing, especially if you are working on behalf of a website that is selling stuff too. So I just want to run through an example just so you can see how this really works, and also how I've reported on it in the past. So Yell is a UK brand. Actually, no, it's not higher than that. It's a global brand, but I was working on UK work. And the brief was they had some content, useful content on their website that they wanted to make more of, because not many people were seeing it. It was for the area of their business where they're making websites for small to medium businesses. And the content that they had that they wanted to amplify a bit more was all around web design for small to medium businesses. This is an area of the business they wanted to bring more traffic into that area of the website, and essentially sell more of these packages. Now you can see from just the example on the screen that there's no social shares for this content, and that was the case across the board. So we need to amplify it and overall just build awareness around the web design package, and hopefully sell some more packages. So we designed a number of infographics. that was all using the information that was already on the website, but we just built it into a much more engaging way of infographics, and we added some research to it as well. And we thought that the infographics would be a great way to get that information out there, but also bring people back to the site as well. So we had the infographics on site with some additional information from the research, and we also were able to use these infographics in our selling and to media and editorial media, and also in our social work too as well. So something else that I just wanted to sort of raise here, that we were really keen to get as much shares as possible. So taking your mind back to what I was saying about the way that Google algorithm works, it loves coverage with links in, but also loves social shares as well. So I've got an example here of a piece of coverage that we gained on Shell Livewire was on the website. So great, we got that piece of coverage. We also got a link in that piece of coverage, so we definitely celebrated that. But we also encouraged the journalists at Shell Livewire and Shell Livewire themselves to tweet about the piece of coverage. We had to, really work out magic with our relationships there. But if this piece of coverage gets tweeted and shared socially, that amplifies the Google votes. So it's something to bear in mind, and that really did help. So essentially what ended up happening was the diagram you're looking at, you've got the Yale logo in the middle, that represents their website. So you can see the yellow boxes around the outside, they all represent the pieces of coverage that we got. And then the social logos around those represent the social shares of the coverage. And all of that power and votes is all going into the Yale website, which means that Google was taking note of all of these shares and all of these links, and that was building in the background and increasing the search results for Yale. But before we even get to the search results, just from a PR perspective, the results were pretty good anyway. So we got 31 pieces of coverage, and we actually gained 88 links. So there was like multiple links in the pieces of coverage that we got, and that was all going through to the Yale website. So that's great. Then we had a real big sort of increase of views to the infographics. We got lots of Twitter shares, and we got lots of additional shares of the content as well. So even just as a campaign, we were pleased with it. But as I mentioned, in all of our pieces of coverage, we had a link going through to the Yale website. What that means is the link of that Yale website, that ends up going up in the Google search rankings. So it's really, really important that that link was there. What was the result? Well, the Yale website didn't have really any kind of visibility in Google, so it was at position 1000 for web design, which is obviously nobody gets to that. There's 10 results per page. Nobody's would have ever seen that. But within 6 months of the campaign, we got to position 39. So a huge, huge increase, but there was still more to do. But that was just for one keyword. And we were trying to get them up in lots of other keyword positions. But you can see there, just from that one campaign, the huge increase that we had. So you guys are probably having this kind of impact too. So I just want to take you through like how we actually measured that, and then the big overall result as well. So at the top, we've got online media. What I mean by that is the pieces of coverage that went live. But overall, we ended up getting 150 links going through to the Yale website. Brilliant. What did that mean? Well, we also got lots of shares of the infographics, which were hosted on the Yale website. So there was lots of shares going on of the Yale website. So if you remember back, I said that Google loves to see social shares too. So that was another big thumbs up. So those links and those shares were huge recommendations in Google's eyes. Because of that, the Yale website started to strengthen. Now, domain authority, some of you might be familiar with, some of you might not be. It's a score that replicates how strong and authoritative a website would be. It's out of 100, and we managed to build it from 52 to 59. That doesn't sound like much, but actually that just small jump actually strengthens the website so much that Google then trusts it more. So because of that, this is all having a knock-on effect, as you can see. Because of the strengthening of the Yale website, because of all of those social shares, it started to go up in positions. So we had then 5 keywords, and not just web design, we had other words as well, all on page 1 of the natural Google results, which is brilliant. What does that mean? Well, because of more people seeing it on Google, more people were clicking from the Google search results and going through to Yale. So we had 30,000 people going to the Yale website because of these increasing positions of Google. Now, we could just stop there and say that that is fantastic additional report metrics that I didn't have in PR before I got to SEO. And this is all from a PR campaign. So brilliant that we've got this sort of proof of extra traffic. But there's more. Because of those 30,000 people that went to Google because of our work, they had 200 new customers, which is brilliant. So for the first time, we've actually got some real sort of hard-hitting financial results that's totally directed from the PR campaign that we did. So that is brilliant. This is why I want to share how important SEO is to PR people. So so far I've been talking about links in PR coverage. And I just want to just go into this a little bit more, because some of you may be getting links to your clients' content already. And there's just a few things you need to bear in mind with it. Now, all links going into your client's website is brilliant, really is. If they are truly earned and have not been paid for, which I'm going to come on to, and they are from influencers like this, and they are genuine, then all links are great. That's what you need to remember. But as a PR person, we know that we don't just genuinely earn them. Sometimes we do some paid work as well. In PR, that's fine. Like advertorials are absolutely fine in public relations, but they're not so fine in SEO. And it goes back to that sort of, you go back to the early slides that I said with people trying to cheat the algorithm. Sometimes Google can think that we're cheating the algorithm if we're doing an advertorial for PR. I know that we're not, but this is where we just need to be careful. So first of all, take note of this guy. This guy's called Matt Cutts. He works at Google, and he runs a very important team and that really checks for those spammy links and making sure that nobody's trying to cheat the algorithm. Literally, he is head of web spam. Brilliant job title, but he's actually very, very useful. Don't think he's the bad guy. He's totally on the PR side, you know. So he also has a blog that's really, really useful. So again, third tip of if you want to learn more, go and check him out. But his team are really looking into whether links have been genuinely earned or not, because they've been paid for. So I'm just going to go into that a little bit more. Why is this so important? You might be thinking, okay, well, we've got some advertorials, we've got some earned links too. Like, how are they even going to know? And what even happens? This happens. What you're looking at right now is that this is a graph. It's a graph that's showing the overall visibility of Interflora, which is the direct sort of mail, if you like, florist service. That they're global, and this is looking at their overall visibility in Google, and so all of their search positions. So this goes back to 2011, it goes up to 2013. Now what you can see is their overall visibility is very good. In fact, it's going up. There's a small drop in 2011, and that was probably around the time that, yes, it was that the first Penguin rollout went out. Oh, I think that was Panda actually, which was around content. Then the huge drop with the red box round was when Penguin was rolled out through the Google algorithm, and that was when Google put a stop to any sites with paid links going through to their site into the search rankings. They totally removed them. Now, just to really put this into context, Interflora is an online-only business. They are a multi-million-dollar business, but they are online only, and about 90% of their traffic was coming from Google. Now, just have a think about that. So Google took them out of the Google search results completely. So that means that their business is over. That's the only source of traffic, really, other than like a couple of other minor sources that they were gaining to their website was from Google, and Google totally blocked them. Even if you search for the word Interflora in Google, you couldn't get to them. And really what Google were doing here was using them as an example, and they weren't the only ones. JCPenney also experienced a very similar drop too. The reason being is Google did get in touch with them before this moment. It outlined the fact that they were unhappy with links that were going into their website, and they gave them a period of time that they needed to put this right and get rid of the paid links and start to earn genuine links. Interflora ignored them, and so did JCPenney and a few other brands too. That is why they got taken out. Now, they did make it back, as you probably know now, or in 2018, Interflora are in Google search results and they're doing well, but it took them a long time and they lost millions and millions. Safe to say that the people that were involved in that link building are no longer working with them. So it's really, really important. You do not want to be responsible for this with any of your PR clients, and it comes down to paid links. So let's go on to some examples of paid links in PR, because I really don't want you to be in that position of that happening. So what we're looking at here on the screen is an example of a blog post on the left, which is a beauty blogger. And the beauty blogger is reviewing some new makeup from a UK retailer called Boots. And on the right is a zoom in on the piece. Now, the fact is this is a sponsored advertorial. It's not editorially, well, it is advertorial, but it's been paid for. There was money that was exchanged between Boots and the blogger there for her to review the products. Now, you would think that this is absolutely fine because it says sponsored by Boots. So the blogger and the brand has been upfront about this, and it's saying that it's a paid for piece. However, there is a link going through to the Boots website. Now, in terms of advertising standards, the blogger is doing no wrong, and neither is Boots, because they have said that it's sponsored. But in the eyes of Google, they are, because they're linking to the Boots website, and they're also saying it's sponsored. So that is a problem. So that's really bad in Google's eyes, unless there is a way around this. Now, the blogger could, and the Boots PR team could ask for this. The blogger could add a code onto that link, which would still mean that the link would work. So you and I could click on it and go through to the product page, that's fine. But the code, which you wouldn't be able to see, but the blogger and Google will be able to see it, is just indicating to Google that they're not passing on any SEO value, and that it really is just for people to go on there, and it's not for Google results. So there's something that the blogger could do there, but they haven't on this occasion, and so they needed to rectify that. So this is, so what's within the guidelines. So I've just sort of gone through this. So you need to say sponsored content. If you're doing any advertorial, you have to do that. And even with advertising, put Google to a side, even with advertising standards, you have to do that. But in Google's eyes, if you are linking through to a website, you have to say it's sponsored, and you have to add what's called a no-follow code. Now, how would you know whether you've got a no-follow code? Now, when you are selling into the blogger and you're speaking to them and organising that deal, ask them about it. They will know about it, so do ask them. But if you want to check any of your past coverage, the way to do it is to download this tool. So this tool is brilliant for lots of different reasons, but for particularly this job, download Moz. So search for Moz, M-O-Z, or go to moz.com, download the toolbar, and it will always be in your toolbar from then on, in your Google browser or whatever toolbar you use. And there's lots of brilliant add-ons to this toolbar. You can look at domain authority, which I've already mentioned. But going back to this particular problem, if you want to, and there's a really great button that you can click. It's if you've got an arrow there, if you click on the followed button on the toolbar, whatever web page you go onto, if it has a link on there, it will highlight it in green if it's followed. Now, followed means that it is passing on SEO value. Now, if you've gained that piece of coverage without paying for it, brilliant. That means it's powering your client's website. You'll get an SEO value. That's brilliant. However, if you've paid for it, you don't want to be seeing any of the green. You need it to have a no follow code on, and this tool will really help you spot those. So biggest tip, I'd say download that. So yeah, there are some real grey areas of this as well. I know that you might have been thinking it, that okay, sometimes with bloggers you might not pay them in cash, but you might pay them in experiences or products. It's a real grey area, I would say. I had been doing, still involved in the industry. I've been doing SEO PR for almost 9 years, over 9 years now, and if you are genuinely doing a PR campaign with and providing experiences for influencers, it's fine. You're not going to be getting into any trouble with Google. Google are really trying to stop the spammy sort of links. But I have to say, you do need to be aware of the rules because it does say about free products being in exchange. So just be aware of it and make sure your team are aware of it. But I would say with a lot of experience, if it's genuinely a PR campaign and you're not just doing this for search positions and sending out products really in replacement of cash, then you're going to be fine. But there you go. I need to make you aware of the guidelines. So so with the guidelines, I would say when I say a genuine campaign, here's another example. Using the boots of retailer again with some more makeup. So there's a review of some products here. Quite clearly, this blogger has been sent the products. So looking at that grey area, you could say, well, they were given those products. That's kind of in replacement of, it's got monetary value. So it's a replacement of giving them cash for that link. And it does have a link. But what I would say is as long as there's a lot more going on than just that, then you're going to be safe. So what I would add to this is that you could have some really great content that link is going through to on the Boots website, such as like an interesting color wheel that's all about makeup and the colors of this season or something. Get the blogger to talk about the content as well as the product. So it's not just a straight product review. And then it gives reason why they're linking to that page. It's not just linking to the product page. So think about things like that. That's the kind of safe scenario where you're going to be at that grey area and into the good and the green. Okay, so if you want to read more about that kind of thing, you can go to support at Google /webmasters. And then also Matt Cutts is the guy I mentioned right at the beginning for the blog. So we've gone through quite a few areas here, and I've covered a lot. I've gone through the sort of history of Google, why it's so important, where PR fits into this, how important links in your coverage are. So you've just taken on quite a lot. So well done, first of all. But what are your first steps after this webinar? Well, start reporting on your links is number one. And what you can see here is some screenshots taken from a CoverageBook report. You will notice that we have domain authority in our metrics. There's a reason for that. It's because Yahoo, and Yahoo links through to your client's website, and Yahoo has a huge domain authority of 99 out of 100. Google will see that piece of coverage and think, wow, this is a huge recommendation to the ESPN website. I'm going to pop ESPN up further into my Google results because of that great recommendation from Yahoo. That is why domain authority is in our reports. Equally, in the summary area of your metrics, if you are familiar with CoverageBook and you are a customer, you'll find that you can count for links in your coverage. So this is automated, which is brilliant. When I was doing this job, when I was doing PR, I had to go through all of my coverage, scanning with eyes just to see if we had a link going through to the client's website. We take care of that for you in CoverageBook. So you literally just click on that in the summary area. You put in the URL that you're tracking. For this, in this case, it would be espn.com. And we would look through all of your items of coverage in that report and bring you back a nice number of how many links you've achieved. So step number one, report on the links, report on the strength of the websites that you're gaining those links onto, because then you are armed to start selling yourselves as SEO PR experts, which you should be. Once you're there, start talking to your main PR client about that. But then I would suggest starting to ask who the digital teams are and talking to them as well, because they should really know about the great work that you're doing. Because remember, what you're looking at right here, this is what Google is looking for. So Google looks for the small part of the pie is the solid technical foundations. The next second part of the pie is the content that you and I can see. And the digital teams will be working all over that. But that big half of the pie chart that you can see is the earned recommendation of links and shares that's coming primarily from you guys, but also from other sources too. But primarily you'll be the drivers of that awareness and that recommendation to the website. So you should really talk to the digital teams and show off your great work, because that's what you're doing. Now, I just wanted to highlight something as well, and this is just a little food for thought at the end of the webinar here. I want you to go and talk to the digital teams, and I want you to start reporting on the great work that you're doing, but I want you to start to consider about the budgets that you get. So right now, you're probably gaining PR budgets. I just want you to remember that there are other budgets out there available through digital marketing that you could potentially be going for. So what I did was just lift some copy that came from a real RFP, so a real brief that I gained for a pitch once. And if you read the top half, I'm going to read it out to you. You might think that your setup, your agency, your team might not be able to answer something like this. So let's read it out. We are issuing this RFP in order to appoint a supplier to assist in our natural search rankings through innovative and ethical off-site SEO techniques. Now, if I was in PR and I'd read that, I'd think, great, I can't answer that. That's not for me. That's for an SEO agency. That's for the SEO team. However, with my years of experience and knowing really what that means, I can translate what that means to you. And I'm going to translate it for you now. We are issuing this RFP in order to appoint an agency to increase our visibility on Google through creative online PR and influencer outreach campaigns. Do you think you can answer that? Yes, that's probably what you're doing right now. You are doing PR campaigns. There you're talking to influencers, and you are promoting a website and some content. And as you can see, that's what you're doing right now, and you're gaining those results. Right now, the way that SEO budgets are being split, it used to be whole SEO budgets, but they're actually being split now into these three areas. So you don't even have to be responsible for the technical. You don't have to be responsible for the content. You can literally just go in and do the link building, which is essentially an online PR campaign. And there are budgets to really match and really go beyond PR budgets. So just again, food for thought. A link building budget, you're looking at this per month as a retainer. And sometimes they can be smaller, but especially if you're working on behalf of an e-commerce setup or a retail website, it's big business. Link building is big business. So I just wanted to leave that with you. Okay, so that brings me to the end of the webinar. If you want to read more, I actually have a book on this. It's called PR's Digital Resolution. I'll drop a link into the chat. But right now, I will see if you've got any questions. And there is the opportunity to have a free book as well for the best question. No questions. No questions so far? Yes, there are. I love Chris's response. Thank you. Okay, so Jessica. Right now, Jessica is winning the book because it's the only question. Oh no, there are actually 8 questions here. Wow. Okay, I'm going to read out Jessica's first. Do you use keyword planners like AdWords Keyword Planner or Answer the Public when you're writing content? Of course we do, because Answer the Public is one of our tools. Thank you for promoting it, Jessica. So yes, before I actually used a mixture of the both when I was doing this work, but I'd still recommend doing the same. So for those of you who don't know, AdWords is actually the tool from Google where you will set up the ads, but as part of the process, you can just not go live on the ads, and there's some really great useful parts of the tool where it will show you how many people are searching for different keywords. So it'll give you a good idea of the kind of keywords that you should be going after, and you can prioritize them. Answer the Public. Please, everyone, go and use Answer the Public, even if you're not going to be going after SEO. It's great just for coming up with brainstorming ideas, content ideas, press release angles. And the reason for it, let me explain it. Answer the Public, what we do, it's one of our tools. We are using the Google API. And basically, when you go to Google and you start to search for a topic, it will come up as Google suggests. So it will say, oh, I think you might be searching for this. That's based on how popular searches, how many people are searching for that topic. What we did with Answer the Public was just maximize that. So we pulled in all of that data of how people are searching around particular topics and then put it into one tool. And it's free, so go and use it right now. And yeah, just put your client in, put in the topic around your client, and you'll just get some really lovely graphs, really lovely sort of spider diagrams of all of the different questions people are asking around a topic. So yeah, 100% use that. Okay. Wow, lots of questions. I'm conscious of the time. We've got 2 more minutes, so I'm going to try and answer the top 2, which have been voted. Can mentions without URL link on high quality sites contribute to SEO ranking? Really good question, Nick. Apparently, yes. From testing, no. It's all about the links. It's all about the followed links. Google say that they do look at it. But I would say that there has been full SEO tests out there, and articles without links just don't get taken into consideration, and the brand doesn't then go up in Google search rankings. What I will say though, it's depending on how hardcore you're going to go with this. Only having a PR campaign, online PR campaign or SEO campaign with links going all through to one page and not having one piece of coverage without a link looks very unnatural. You probably wouldn't have that in a PR campaign. So I'd question it. Google's going to question it as well. So it doesn't look good. So I'd never say, if you know that a website that's on your target media list doesn't link, don't take it off the target media list if it's great for your target audience. Still have it on there. But to answer your question, if you're really looking at what pushes sites up, it's those with links. And finally, I'm going to answer all of them, but I know that some of you might need to log off now. But I'm just going to answer this next one with a vote. How much weight does Google give to social media mentions and URLs? Again, good question. The whole how much weight do they give to social mentions, to editorial, but then even within editorial, the bigger sites versus the smaller sites, to the blogs, or even within social, a bigger influencer versus the smaller influencers, really hard to nail that. But okay, it works in different ways. I've led myself into something now, but this is useful. So editorial sites look at the domain authority to give you a gauge of how to prioritize, and it will tell you how much weight Google will give to each of those. So the ones that are higher to a domain authority score of 100 are going to give you a lot more weight than some of those blogs down below. And also with social influencers, if they have sort of higher Clout Score. Clout is a really good scoring system to look at how influential they are, also their followers, things like that. If they are a big influencer, then that's going to give you a higher weighting. But having both social and editorial is really important, because if you editorial links, it will take Google a while to go and crawl that and for your website to go up. If you have social in there as well, it gives it a sense of urgency. Google knows that people are on Twitter to look for instant news and things like that. So it adds a quicker, doesn't add more weight, but it boosts it a little bit. So if you're working on something that is topical or it has seasonality or something, make sure you're adding the social campaign to your strategy at the right moment to give it a bit of a boost. That works quite well. Okay, now the one I'm going to answer this one from Terrell. Do hyperlinks function the same way as full links? Yeah, you know what? There might be some advice on some SEO sites out there where they say that you should hyperlink the keyword. Don't take any notice of that. That's something that's old. And remember when I said keyword stuffing and the Panda update happened, this was another thing where there'd be like keywords with hyperlinks. Google doesn't like that because it thinks you're trying to trick the algorithm, and that goes against that Panda update. So be careful. Don't try and ask for that. If it's totally natural and and the journalist has added it, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. It's just when Google will see like hundreds of links of the same hyperlink word, that's when it starts to think, oh no, this is something dodgy going on here. So I hope that answers that question. Getting journalists to include links is really difficult. How are you getting around that? I know it's really difficult. I mentioned a really quick example with the Boots makeup one, where I said about not just giving products to them, but having some great content that's on the site as well that really adds weight to what the journalist is talking about. I would say content has to be at the heart of your strategy from now on if you really want to push this. So like, yeah, you're naturally getting links, but if you really want to get a big amount of links that's going to push your client, I would definitely put content at the heart of strategy. And what I mean by that is engaging content that's really hosted on your client's website, that's not given all to the journalist, that you're keeping something in reserve, if you like, that there's a reason for them to link back to and for them to come back to. So there's a lot more we can talk about that if you want. I mean, I don't have good. If in fact right now, if there's anything from this webinar you want me to go deeper into in my next webinar, let me know in the chat, because I don't have the next topic and I'll take it from you guys. So yeah, content is huge. Okay, we're going to go through to the next questions. You mentioned a book. Which SEO guides would you recommend? My book, PR's Digital Resolution. I'll put the link in there. Yeah, I mentioned the other book right at the beginning. It's probably quite old now, actually, the Vanessa Fox one, but it's a real good beginner. In fact, we actually bought copies of the Vanessa Fox book, Marketing in the Age of Google, for all of our clients, because it just really got them in a great way of thinking about how Google is linked to general marketing. So I recommend that. But if you want to really get into the detail of exactly what I've gone through today and see the stages of how to report on it, buy my book, PR's Digital Resolution. Okay, let's go into some more questions. Do you have an easy way to explain domain authority to clients? I include metrics for each result we get for them. Some don't get it, others do. Yeah, search for, I've done a video on it. And also, okay, so there's two things. On CoverageBook, there's a help desk, there's a help area at the top. Go to there, search for domain authority. There's a little description you can copy and paste, which is quite good for emails. In addition to that, if you want a little bit more deeper level just for you, I've got a video that's also in that help section. But if you go to YouTube and search for CoverageBook, you'll see a video from me as well, where I go into a lot more detail. I answered the one about keyword planners. What measurement tools did you use to calculate for Yale results? Good question. Analytics, Google Analytics. Wow, Google Analytics is really, really important if you want to go beyond just reporting on links. Google Analytics will tell you where the traffic to your client's websites come from, and it will tell you whether it's come from Google natural search or not. whether it's come from Google or not. And that's number one. So any analytics package, but Google Analytics is probably the main one, but it would be up to your client really to what analytics package they're using. And number two, which I used in the Yale one, was search metrics. It's really, really useful, search metrics. It's paid for. It's not cheap. Can't remember exactly how much it is. I think it depends how many clients you put in. But it's really, really useful. It gives you things like, the Interflora graph that I showed you, where it showed the whole search pattern of Interflora, and it dropped off. It will show you whether you're going up as well, and it will give you like a date timeline. And what's really nice is that what you can then do is plot your PR campaigns over that and show the search visibility going up. It's really good. That's search metrics. Is it a good idea to balance link building with something like Google AdWords? Yes, that's probably a whole other topic in itself. I didn't run the ads in my agency. I was very much focused on link building and content and the natural side of things. But 100%, yes, it has to be a really good balance. And as you can probably tell, it's not that easy to jump to the top of search rankings for particular keywords. So you definitely want to balance some of your budget with paying to be there. And then it's a real nice effect when you start to go up in the natural search rankings. You can start to move some of that budget away from AdWords and start to add that to your SEO budget. And eventually, hopefully, you won't have to be paying quite so much for that. Okay, last question I'm going to be covering today is, follow-up question. Do pictures, videos that link to pages work the same as a hyperlink? Yes. Yeah, unless they've got a no-follow code. So just speak to your journalist or your blogger to see, or actually use the Moz tool. Use the Moz tool first, because I know journalists probably won't want to look at that. But you can normally see if it's got a no-follow code or not. But yes, all links work, and those ones are probably even better. But just see if it's got no-follow. Okay, the answer's even better. Right, I think, who has won the book? I think the fact that Nick had 3 votes for his questions right at the top. Nick, you have won my book. Free copy of the book. So I'll find your email address and send you a link to the book. And everybody else, I'll drop the link in there. Thank you, everyone, today for joining me. It's been a really good one. Sorry I had to change the time, but hopefully everybody else will be able to see the recording. As I mentioned earlier, I don't have the topic for the next webinar yet. I want to hear from you guys. So the last one I did was all about KPIs, setting KPIs at the beginning of the year. And then from that, you guys said that you wanted to hear more about links and reporting and things like that. So that's where we got to with this. So if you're finding this one useful, let me know what you want to hear about next. I've just popped a link into where you can buy my book. Nick, I'll email you separately for your unique URL to gain the free version. But yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. See you later.